This lady, she wanted some coffee. So we're kind of last one to go in. Nobody brought any coffee.
I have another supervision that
You run that
Hey. Good. And I've checked my spam. Okay, if you could just call me or leave a message or whatever. I want to get that handled, but.
They got one of those, like tree houses that slide out of it, and right underneath the slide.
Maybe I should ask her to be a Leo advisor.
It is, you know, of course, they
Yeah, good idea.
it got up in the park too.
So what I
You can
do
see the mother out in the field.
and then I make a copy,
Next
and then I
day,
put a copy in
they
there.
come back, they use their bed, I mean, that's where they live.
Really?
There's a lot of.
Now, if you catch it at school, I
You could always say the 50-50
Just
split, put that
I can start with it, but typically what I do is
Two hours.
the original.
Wow. They tell me I don't do it loud enough. That was loud enough. That's right. Okay, we're calling our Lions Club meeting to order. So would you please stand? Okay. And say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Lion's Prayer. We
Stand to offer thanks and praise to the giver of all goods, and may he fill our hearts with the spirit of brotherhood. Amen.
We have a guest tonight. Dave, would you like to introduce our guest?
My wife did.
Who is also our speaker?
Also the speaker on the Advocate group.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, Deb and I get to probably go first anyway.
That's true.
See, that's all we need to worry about. Who gets to eat?
I'm surprised that somebody didn't grab you and make them sit with you.
Yeah.
So that's- So you do
Hey, we
get
got
to
an empty up
go
here, Deb.
first. And then we'll go this way around. How's that? Okay.
Yep.
It looks like it's raining. I want to make sure we're talking. Yeah, it's open. Yeah, it's open. Go ahead. I know, it didn't look
Heat
like-
is good for you.
It didn't look like to me either. Ken is Price, P-R-I-C. Okay. Well, you didn't give us what you know. Or last.
Why'd you do that? I said, "Here, you."
Well, that's the way it
Figure it
goes.
out?
I thought that was polite. Oh, there I am. Be careful.
You don't want any zucchini, you don't want green beans. What's that? What?
Yes, here. So you got any candy trees for him? Where you going?
One rosy. Yeah. And then the third one that we were talking about.
How was it different? Did you come first or?
They do.
Anybody behind the there's that, what is the one which they call Tin Can Rally or something? That's Harris Phillips zucchini.
Venti down to I never drank tea here. I drank it one time. A lot of caffeine in it or something. It's good tea, but I couldn't sleep. I blamed it on tea, but so I never drank it again. Now I don't have to get up in the morning. I try drinking it again. It kept me all night. And my mind works. Thinks stupid stuff, you know. And you can't sleep.
Harley candy. Yeah, she's got seeds. Oh, yeah. That's a big consolation in Fair City, what they're not doing in this thing, they're yeah, I remember. They have some. Yeah. It tastes like iron.
Bruce Anderson has a little bit of
Helen's got two funerals tomorrow and one Saturday.
How you doing? I'm doing the one in,
One here at Maple Grove.
3 days. You got one. You would again. So the new
I don't know.
people picked it up, they put the seats in it, you put the cushions up, but they used to put the material on the outside, so she wanted to.
Pineapple baby.
Yeah. But they were happy with it. But they're going to the, right off the bat when they send
I
it.
did two last week.
Okay.
You can't rally or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I get it. Dale and, yeah.
Don't get excited if I choke. Because of her choke. Tell you ahead of time.
See if there's any left.
but if it goes up the way.
Yeah. I haven't done that, but I know that'd be good. Choke pretty easy.
Did you say you were going to now? Did I get over to the post? No, you're not.
Methodist Church, over at
What's it now? On that big piece. Industrial park in Middlesex. If I can get it to the table.
Get it?
What you're showing in pictures, I think it's Brittany, Michigan.
That was so cool, I wanna do that one.
No, so that was.
I just thought that was the coolest thing when they
No, I can't.
yeah, he told me.
Oh, yeah, over on that, right, parking lots, yeah. That's not, when it's raining, it's nice. Well, that's true. That's yours. You don't want any fruit.
It was just so neat, it was made a day all day.
Saw you, how many times?
Number of times.
Look crazy.
Jenny just said that Gary Gerke, he's dropping, he's not gonna be around.
Did he say how much money I give him every week?
Yeah. That was about $300 behind.
Yeah.
Right, $295.
But that's something, it's gotta be approved by the board.
Not my favorite.
Like, they're on the nail, they'll fly out.
Yeah, too much.
Salt and pepper?
No, don't get it now. I'll be
No.
fine.
Okay.
You know, I don't know.
Salt and pepper in here?
I don't think they ever had that real cold, cold.
Go back over there when you're done. Sure.
Oh, I love this place.
You know that one
It's never put additional salt on
real cold here.
Lots of it. Fortunately.
it. You do that.
Yeah, it got open. I think we were the second week though or something. The dock was pretty well underwater at the airport. Oh, yeah.
You drove by a one.
Lake Lansing midday.
He's gotta find it. We'll see.
Now we got kayak play day.
One year, I don't know. One year there at the lake,
Quick, looks like a good opportunity.
we walked down.
Most of it,
Yeah,
Monday
yeah.
night.
But that was a talk, I think the water was up and the dock was getting
Everybody
cold.
got in the water.
Yeah.
And they started practicing your wet exits and re-entries and things like that.
Was it real deep?
Did you ever get to the Jim Button?
Over her head.
Oh, yeah.
You know, one year, still go, two prices per house.
Yeah.
We got a road.
There's
Oh,
You've got-
boy.
MSU sailing on the southwest side of the lake, and the Lansing Sailing Club on the east
Yeah, he
side.
would be on the prices side, yeah.
For the dog we have now, we had it was
It was more of a resort than
the nicest
a
dog.
land, because
It
it
was
was,
just-
they could have it on the old, states and wild.
Yeah.
There's no reason. We came in, so we're sitting on, there's a public dock.
Well, it's
We're
rather-
sitting outside buying up. I know MSU sailing has pretty much, you know, the guys are, the purpose is, sailing. Lansing sailing, does robotics, does amazing. I'm assuming that they'll do some lessons as well, but I don't know how much talking
I know we're
about
paying for it.
She really was, she was the nicest, gentlest thing, but she have a bad rap.
And if they used to give them, people don't trust them. I don't blame them. She got some, she started at
Power Water launched for Lansing, for the MSU sailing
Oh,
to
clinic here again.
do their lessons.
The bigger they are, the more they get.
Down there,
yeah.
God,
See them down here in Florida, usually they're big and they look pretty good. The flavors go with top.
I
Yeah.
don't have to hurry back because I'm retired. I'm either gonna go
Co-owners is
through the UP, which is a
in
little further.
hospice with stage 4 melanoma.
It's a lot prettier. Either that or I'm gonna take the Badger across Lake Michigan into Wisconsin. That's a little bit.
I didn't know if it was still running.
Maine was a great place.
It's a little bit pricey, but maybe that was the price they gave us. There's another system that runs.
Yeah.
There's another one that's fast. that runs out of the city, you get Public Express or something like that, it gets you across in about an hour, hour and a half. 4 hours.
I heard it, almost sounded like somebody shot up. But the opposite said something. Goodness, loud power. So I'm thinking, it is. I'm thinking a transformer blew out, but somebody might have shot the damn thing, I don't know.
It's a little bit further across the lake. And it's 3 hours, but
So I hope I go home with
you lose an hour. I mean, you leave here at 9 and get there at 9, but it's because of the central time, it's a 4-hour trip.
Franz got scared and his approach to Franz rolled over on
But
his
it's
back.
unloading.
Right, they're joking. If you're hindsight, it's more than that.
Rochester, Minnesota.
He's on his own.
Halfway there.
Sounds like.
Cold, small car.
That over here.
Well, they,
It's further, yeah, Ludington. That's all. You just get the Ludington. Rochester's about straight
the
across.
Met seems to be real aggressive putting stuff around together.
So, you know,
We've had some things.
gas would, be a lot
But
less.
it's also been a tough 2 years for doing that. Yeah.
No, nothing in particular, no.
We can hear it or something.
I don't think you can find
Yeah.
25 years, just 2 guys.
Mhm.
That is.
Very unusual. Small chamber, they don't even know it's unusual.
Makes a difference.
35 years old.
No.
$1,200,
We had
fill it up.
stuff going on right now. In June, we have a wedding. And then my sister's wedding. Coming full.
Take a couple hundred gallons of peach or something.
It was fun. They were wonderful.
You probably get probably $10 right on California, that's probably where he was.
You guys should try this on that.
My main job was Sunday morning, I'll check on that. Right, no, that's sitting around just talking.
Back then.
I don't worry about it, so I told the sheriff.
Take one couple of
Go
people.
back to the same way.
Just drive around.
It's more than that.
Yeah, he goes blue one time.
The issue we like that, when somebody that's an early retiree that works a job. Fast fans, I mean, it's nice, but just, she just wanted to come and call. Well, customers, it was about like 2-3 miles, but they just set up that fan, it was kind of like a glass ceiling, and they'd be tearing everything down and everything.
Oh, right.
I can just see something disappointed, and I got thinking.
Okay.
Oh my God, this lady, I think she wrote us a 5-star review. And I saw the State Journal or whatever posting on that. Yeah, they start small. The great extent, it's all matter of how much money you want to spend.
Well,
Yeah,
this is
all boy.
The same
I
kind
am
of
going to
tree
put
that
one
I
of the
used to
toys
do
we're
for.
giving away, and
Yeah.
Right.
Those are nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And they're resistant to parasites.
yeah. I mean, that's what, We get typically for Christmas trees.
Some parents are quoting your projects.
In the back of our yard, the developer, did Bailey Park, it's gooseberry stars. Why? They grow fast. Or grow fast, right, exactly. I'm ready to get kind of. Trees are up in the yard, so, but that's there was all.
Sounds like it.
Branches fall off.
The trailer or
You will? Yeah, we had Gary take out a couple of big die spruces in our backyard. They weren't blue spruces.
What'd they do?
Yeah.
Yeah, the way you said. That can be problematic. Yeah.
But, I did want to take it out.
Does it roll up and stuff?
There's some ticklers, some
Big
You remember my
commercial Norway needs mulch truck.
Do you?
There's been 2 red maples.
Yeah, on the rhubarb?
Jump off the couch. It's hot.
No.
Had to get a stitch, had to get a stitch.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah,
Get back home.
yeah, they're
For a while later,
pretty
jump
young.
back
And the
in.
super maples is
Split it open.
they're much more.
Get back home. Get something else.
We'll see.
Then
Rhubarb.
How in the river, if you look at the stream.
The Carrie, that's the giant.
All set?
That's what you do when you retire. You go somewhere.
No, I just knew that they were really good. The spring one always does better than the fall one. And when I was there, Diamond Island, they were lined up on the door, they've been there.
I had me last, but I went down there 3 times, you know, the last time was 10:30, you know, they closed at 11, and they used to have people coming in. That's my aunt, and they said,
That's a big one, for $8.
yeah.
And having orange juice and coffee and water and all that stuff. Some of those people went up.
What is?
I know.
I would choose. Pancakes.
Okay, yeah.
But I think a lot of people. That's how they just gave them a town, so, you know, we know we were.
So even if they're there, I-
Firefighters.
I got,
We really enjoy that. We, the smallest ones, if we can go with quite practice. It's really nice.
Oh, yeah.
I got a lot of fires.
Yeah.
Sounds like, hot coffee. I would say, I'm as close to 3
I had a great, put a hitch on.
Well, I'll find out a couple of weeks.
Hitch on.
And maybe more, I don't know, I don't real well.
Picking up for 2
See,
and all.
last days,
Be carrying 1, 2.
Then we just check first and see if we ever.
Yeah, well, the cruise.
Well, they got to get their ass out and shoot some rifles, too.
Had a brother that went out there and knocked down the road.
The Lions Club down there usually.
What year is that, green or blue?
I wasn't down on
Yeah,
much
much sell every damn
Mother
one.
from
$15 for us back then.
We had an X-ray and I had a small cut.
My dad, I used to do that on the
I think
weekend.
I need tomorrow. You know,
Oh, you got it, that's your hands the other way.
And they always did it all good, but great house.
We had a trailer. That was bought from Golders.
My mother was with us, so it was, and I was to it. I was number 60.
360 on the other
We
side.
put the beanie up,
Once in a
so
while,
that
I'd
we had
send a
shade.
pin fall off.
Well,
And
at
it's
Bruin Lake, we
right
went through
through
the
like
chain
this.
of lakes, there's one
We
point
had a
where
guy
there's
that
a
was 6'6".
and
There's a guy got him on.
Okay.
and we started to go through.
That was his job, that's all he did all day.
Next lake, and all of a sudden it dawned on him and all of us that we were gonna, that the king was gonna hit the bridge, and that's what it did. It was like, 9 voyages in your watch
got
it, and just see slow motion.
one boss.
Yeah, does it
And
take?
it was just
Yeah.
kind of crumbled. And I, you know, I got it neutral, but it's neutral, so I wasn't thinking fast enough. Put it in reverse and go back, and, you know, motion got forward motion, but you put it in neutral, you still going forward. And that's where I went, it was just, you know, it was so dumb, it was just slow, and it just kind of crumbled. And it never did,
I have to blow
tried to
them
get it straight down, it never did. Yeah, so
out.
they,
Felt good thing.
from what I've heard, and from what I've seen,
We just did like lemonade and cranberry.
nearly everybody did, you know, with COVID and isolation and masking, number of colds have gone way down. A lot less transmission.
Or Joanne.
Yeah, children's are just hotbeds.
I know. Oh, he keeps posting
Goodbye.
pictures.
These hurt you
Concerned about
two bags a week, there's two bags. And then they don't quite match the same. I get it.
Well, he's just gonna, he's just doing it.
I didn't get my next one.
I'm gonna have to rag out my kid that won't do any good.
Everything up, yeah.
Hello? You see that trash
I
can?
know he asked me years ago.
Probably all his containers. Oh.
Okay, I know that, I mean, I know what you're talking about.
You know, I did it.
I mean, I was busy, I didn't mean to, but then somebody outside and.
Supposed to be doing what?
You know, it's the benefit of
I don't know.
everybody.
Yeah, I never was this tonight.
Not as
She
bad
picked around it, I
in
know.
most cases as
For you. Yeah, I did that.
A lot of people like that.
Order it all. You done with those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With strawberry and rhubarb pie.
Well, in our case, the bridge one. Sale?
Ruth and I were
Right.
vaccinated and Cindy boosters. And both, Cindy, even though they, no one else was in the meeting.
What he says.
Like, they didn't even have it. Tested when I got on my plane.
I'm probably, from him, probably that.
The drink is too long.
I got it, rapid test. Came up negative. She was so positive. She probably was, so he put 2 to 4 days behind me. You know, I don't know. But he's out there digging around, frustrated and disappointed. Next thing you know, start to pop up. She's been looking over the picture on tonight. Oh, I got all the way. He went up.
He had COVID.
26 foot.
It's only almost 60 pounds. And they quoted it at 6.
We wouldn't be laughing about it, except for the kids Lynn when he started the store too.
But also prior to that, he had to have.
My thing with that boat, that pontoon boat, was I was so glad when it was
Susie Wayne's
Over down in Vegas, they have lots of straw down there.
So the kids are like, you put that down Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, you know, nobody down and do it. We used to fish. It was nice, it had a little lots of fish, you know, felt comfortable with them, you know.
Yeah.
It would make for ourselves, it would make for ourselves, and we take it up to Yeah, stayed up to Drummond and for a week at a time, go up there.
I didn't have any problem with it.
I'm gonna pass this out. Last week or last time, he was kinda cheated, had the math test, the nonsensical math test from Berkeley, UCLA, about math. Well, this one is questions for junior high kids.
Oh, boy.
I'm already going down this
Fifth grader answers.
Yeah. I don't see any junior high kids here.
Let's see when we're done here.
Is this from Art Lake?
What's that?
Is this from Art Lake letter?
No, I don't think that one, but,
Don't tell me you don't know who he is.
well, I know who he is.
I used to love to watch that show.
Kids say the dark.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Like the instructions,
Yeah, that
they
was
say,
like-
easy, a 6-year-old can do it. Well, I'm not 6 years
They
old.
sure were. They sure were.
Best Buy, we bought a printer. We were trying to figure out the difference between an $80 printer and a $400 printer.
I wish they still made shows like that.
Some kid 18 years old working in it. Oh, it's simple. A monkey could put it together. And we spent, after we got it, about 4 hours on the phone with tech services on YouTube.
Well, I ain't doing very good.
Me either.
I started out real good.
I think you know the answer, and then you look at the other answers, you go,
Well, that's the thing, I thought so too when he did these. I thought, okay, is this a trick question or not? I don't know.
And some of them are a little bit of a wag, yes.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those isn't an animal. Well, it's not an animal. But it's an animal. I know.
Many people, but not us.
Well, I know them.
What's the difference between basalt, andesite, and rhyolite? Percentage of silica, primarily.
Having trouble with gas and chipper.
Basalt, and silica, more viscous, andesite's in between, rhyolite is high silica, very stiff,
Last year, it was like, read the instructions.
which tends to come from supervolcanoes, those go really big bangs.
We didn't make it to Alaska.
They ran out of money for gas.
Sure, sure.
Basalt is what you see coming up from Iceland and Hawaii.
yeah, he was on Whale West, he said the gas picture gas was over $7 a gallon.
Well. That's
Dave, last time was, math problems from, UCLA, this time it's junior high questions,
It's what?
junior high questions.
Is that supposed to make you feel better, is it?
You didn't catch the preface, so I just.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since he was in junior high.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I got it right now. I don't, I have, no, I just want.
Oh, okay.
This is good.
Well, that one I know the bottom, the bottom numbers.
I know what it is now.
I'm gonna go ahead and start. How about the first one? How about the first one? Any ideas? Neil Armstrong. Number 2,
B.
C.
That's where I thought it might have been.
Yep.
Okay, is it just is
Okay.
You're crazy?
How about number 3? C. C, all right.
I don't even
C.
know that.
How about number 4? E. A, the liver. The liver's about the size of a football under an adult. How about number 5?
C.
C, that's correct.
See?
Yep, C.
My way it worked.
Number 7,
6.
A.
That's
What
6.
happened to number?
Six.
No, number 7 is a cheetah. Can run up to 70 miles an hour and sustain that for a mile.
Yeah, but certain fucking can stop 100 and
But
die.
it's an animal, not a bird.
Birds are
Now,
animals.
wait a minute.
So,
Technicality.
if you said mammal, I would agree with you. The birds are animals.
It says.
Yeah, okay.
Said it was.
It does?
Everybody gets
It
an
does
extra
not.
credit for that one. How about number 7?
C.
See,
It's B, a koala.
No way. Trick question.
How about number 8?
D.
B as in boy, 80. How about number 9?
D.
I think that's D, Africa.
It's D, it's Africa. Africa has 54 countries. Asia has 48. Europe has 44. South America has 12.
See, he backs all this stuff up, so we know that.
I don't want to get in trouble. How about number 10?
A.
A is correct. 690 AD. is the first. How about the extra credit, number 11?
It's a numerator.
Hey, all right. Cool. Thank you.
Well, this junior high student got 50%, which makes it an E.
I still say I'm like with Peregrine Falcon.
I agree with you.
We gave you extra credit on that, so.
I marked myself as a half on that one.
That other one for me?
I read one just in case. But I think I'm gonna win again.
Actually, I got 60%. That's for the E, and the D,
Glenn?
Me? What's up?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Numerator?
The other one's denominator.
Yep, no, I guess that I remember, I don't remember.
Well, is our speaker ready? Sure. Okay. Well, we've already introduced her.
Doing a fine job.
Fine job.
Fine job, fine job.
Deb is a part of the
I didn't
Victim
count that.
Advocate Program, which she's gonna talk about, and, we're happy to have you. You can tell us more about yourself and the program.
Okay. I'm married to Dave, so.
Yeah. Short story.
Is that the program?
I'm gonna make you read it.
Yeah.
Did you? And so I'm gonna be pretty casual in talking about, and I got just some notes I was thinking about today that I wanted to make sure that I told you about. So, my name is Debbie Scott, and I've been with the Ingham County Sheriff's Department Victims Advocate Group for 9 years. And my background is I retired out of the state of Michigan as the warden for the 2 largest prisons in Michigan. And about 4.5 years ago, I retired out of Mason Fire Department with 32 years in as a firefighter. So a little bit of a background, kind of non-traditional, but a program, when I heard about this program, I thought it was a great program to know about. So I would tell you that there are 53 of these programs in the state of Michigan. And we are all under the Michigan Sheriff's Association. And all of those are county programs, except for 4 teams that are city teams. So within Ingham County, we have an Ingham County team, but we have one of the 4 city teams. Lansing Police Department has their own advocate group, which is fine with me. I don't have to go into Lansing that often. But we do work with them, they work with us. We work with other counties if they have a bigger emergency or something that might be a specialty. We kind of know our people that are on our teams and who might be a good fit for doing some of these programs. Our team right now has got 13 different people. We all live in Ingham County, varied backgrounds, varied ages, diversity. Our youngest member is 23 and our oldest is 82. About half of our people are retired and the other people are still working full-time. We work 24/7, 365. So we try to go out always in groups of 2, but sometimes it doesn't always work out that way, so you may have just one of us show up. So you're probably wondering, well, how do we get notified? We get notified, we go through the sheriff's department. So any of the sheriff's department folks can contact us and they would call dispatch 911, ask for a team, and then our group leader dispatches out. But we also service the city departments. So if City of Mason needs to utilize us, or Meridian Township, or City of Leslie, or Stockbridge, any of those teams, we will go out. We can also go out for any emergency responder request. So if a fire department has something going on and they have a death, they can go ahead and call us out rather than wait for somebody from the sheriff's department to do a call out for that. When people usually want to know, what kind of calls do we do? Unfortunately, lately, in the last few years, about 25 to 30% of our calls are suicides, and that number is going up. And when I say suicides, it can be anywhere from, I think our youngest suicide was 9 and our oldest was 82. So it's all ages. There doesn't seem to be a distinction on that. Of course, the ones where the children commit suicide are probably the hardest ones for us to deal with the parents on them, because their thought process is so different when they commit suicide. And so we do those. About 25% of what we go out on is overdoses, intentional overdoses. Sign of the times. Things like fentanyl and all those naughty drugs you shouldn't be taking. That's what's making our calls. About 25% are what I would consider natural death or unexpected. Somebody's maybe got an underlying health problem, or they're just elderly, or just they fell asleep in the middle of the night and just never woke up. It's a natural death, and that's usually surprising for folks. Things like people that are in death under hospice, we don't normally go to those type of things. Hospice has usually got that pretty much settled in their counselors and what they're doing with it, got everything all set up and established, so we don't normally go and respond at something like that. And then kind of the other 25% are what we deal with as death notifications. We assist the police officers and go out and do a death notification, and that can be something within the county, or it can be a death that happened in another town. One of our most recent ones, there had been a death in Kalamazoo, and the people lived in Williamston. The parents lived in Williamston, and so we went with the officer to assist with that. Death notifications, and then we have a few that we call others. And those are just about anything that's, it can be an odd death, or just that the people are so upset and they're not a family member, we're gonna go and help them assist. So who are we helping out? What's our main job? Our main job is to go out and assist the family. We do immediate response, and what we're trying to do is just kind of help them figure out, or help them to understand what's going on right now, help them through the process, and give them some direction on the things that they're gonna need to do in the immediate future. And it can be things as, we help them, it can be at somebody's home. We could be out on an accident scene out on the middle of the highway. We could be at the hospital where they've been taken there and they've died. Almost anywhere where we're called, that's where we go. So, middle of the night, down to Stockbridge, yes, that happens. Not frequently, but it happens. So, we're there for the family to help with immediate assistance, but then our secondary role is to assist the first responders and maybe even the medical examiner investigator if it's needed. We understand what the process is, so we're trying to help the families understand what the process is. Most families are in total shock, something totally unexpected, and all of a sudden, they've got 4 sheriff's cars sitting out in their driveway, you've got people coming in and out, nobody's telling them anything, the officers are busy, and every time they ask them, why is it taking you so long, why is it taking so long, they're like, we need to be working on our thing. So what we do is when we come in, is we kind of try to help them put in perspective of what the process is gonna be. So even if we talk about what the police officers are doing, or what the firefighters are doing, try to answer their questions. We also try to explain to them when the medical examiner investigator is coming, what's gonna happen with that. You know, they're gonna go in, they're gonna take a look at the body, they're gonna be counting medication, they're gonna be doing their assessment, and then they're gonna come out and ask you questions. This is probably the most unusual thing for folks, and I found that people think, why are they asking all of these really evasive questions? Why do they need to know what he had for dinner last night? Are they blaming me because I did? No. So I always try to preface that, is when they're asking you all these questions that maybe don't make sense to you, they're trying to do the most thorough investigation so they can get the best response to find out what happened and why. So, and that seems to calm people down. Probably the biggest thing is they're upset because they just don't know what's going on. You got all these people going in and out, and talking on the radios and da-da-da-da-da, and it's just kind of calming them down and helping them understand what's going on and what's gonna happen next. So, when it gets to the point where the basic investigation is done by the police officers, and the medical examiner investigator has come and done theirs, they will call in to their bosses up at Sparrow Hospital and decide if the person is going to need to go into Sparrow Hospital for an autopsy or further investigation, or are they going to be able to release the body right to a funeral home. So we help folks with that. We have a nice list of funeral homes. We can talk to them about that, kind of what happens with the process of that, and what steps they're going to need to do next. Just being able to talk to them without it being somebody so busy who cannot sit and listen to the questions they're asking, it just seems to calm everybody down. It even calms down the police officers and the other first responders we're dealing with. I say that because it is not unusual for when we show up on the scene to have the police officers, I don't even get out of my car, Debbie, I'm so glad you're here, here's what we got going on. You know, they are happy to see us because they understand what role we play in letting them do their job and also being able to get other information and help out. So we've helped out these people with that. I've told you who calls us out. We're there for the family, we're there for the officers, we're there for any of the other responders. And the reason why I say that is because the other first responders try to be in JOB mode and try to be stoic. But it's very hard when you're dealing with a police officer who's got a 3- and 5-year-old at home and he's coming in on a death scene of a 5-year-old. And if you think that that does not affect them, it just is unbelievable when we can kind of just say, okay, let's just take a breather here. Are you okay? You know, so us just noticing that and talking to those folks, maybe we can assist them. Also, in treating the victim, we never call it the body, we never call it the victim, we call them by name, is making it a personal thing. If you've ever been around a parent who's had a child, especially a younger child, die, and a lot of times they're still in their mind that they don't see the child as dead yet. So we have to be so sympathetic and empathetic towards them in saying that we are still gonna help them take care of that. We're gonna give them the utmost respect. And the police officers and the transportation people are gonna help you, and they're gonna give them the utmost respect. Why don't we just put a little blanket over the baby here, just so the baby stays warm? Okay. Just letting those folks know that we're there for them and what we do. So, we always give them quite a bit of information, because when you're in that state of mind, they barely even remember their own name or phone numbers or whatever. So we're there to help them out. One of the things that we use is a form we put together called What Do We Do Next? And it kind of goes through everything that's been happening and where they can go next for determining next of kin, what happens with the autopsy coming through, medical treatment, what steps are you gonna take next as far as funeral home, what are you gonna do with all these meds that are in the house, what kind of notifications need to be made. These are not anything that needs to be made that day, but they're things you need to start thinking about. So we've got a whole list of places that you need to do for notifications. And we've had people go, I would have never thought of that. I would have never thought of that. So we go over a whole list of things like contacting the insurance agent, Social Security Administration, your doctor's offices, your pharmacies, your Secretary of States, your credit cards, and just kind of give them some things to think about of what they're gonna need to do. I would tell you that we were sitting with a family the other day and kind of reviewing all this stuff, and a family friend had been there, and the lady stopped me about halfway through and she said, where were you guys when my mother died? I never knew any of this stuff. The hospital never told me any of this stuff. I didn't know I was supposed to contact all these places. And it's amazing that they don't know that our program exists. And basically the program exists is when the police officer, the firefighters call us in to help the families out. We also give them information for long-term. We're for short-term. We give them information for long-term about grief, things to do for behaviors, if there's kids in the home, behaviors to watch with the children. How do you talk about kids about death? How do you talk about teenagers and suicide? We give them quite a bit of information. But we also give them information on where they can take their used medications, what they can do with the funeral homes. So all of this resource information we give them. The typical time out with a family member or a group like that is about an hour and a half to 2 hours by the time we're dealing with all the information we're gonna pass on to them. So it sounds like we're in quick and dirty. We're not. We're there for immediate response and to help them get through that. So one of the things I talked about is our age group and our people with experience that are on our team. Anybody who comes on our team has to take an initial 32-hour course through the Michigan Sheriff's Association, and we are required to have 12 CTEs a year, college credits. And that's for doing training to update us on information, what's coming up, even things as interesting or whatever is. We may take a field trip on one of our meetings to go to a funeral home to see what processes are at a funeral home. Just so that we understand, so when we're talking to folks, they have a little bit better understanding about what's gonna go on next. So with that being said, that's what we do. I would like to talk to you about a couple of misconceptions about our group and things that happen. I'm not saying these are all something that has happened recently but all of these have happened recently. I shouldn't say allegedly, allegedly. The first misconception is that we're there for long-term assistance. We are not there for long-term assistance. We always give them our phone number if they've got a question the next day, or somebody new has showed up and they've got a question about something, we can help them. But we are not going to be going with them to the funeral home. We are not going to be going with them to court. We are not going to be going with them to their lawyers. We're not long-term. That's a whole other group. The next misconception is, do you think you can just drop a body off at the cremation site in Mason? You all know that we have a cremation area here in Mason. I would say recently, we had a lady who left her wishes for her family, and she basically said in her notes, just drop me off at the burn place in Mason.
Can't do that.
It doesn't work that way. There's a whole system of having to deal with the right people and getting the right permits and getting the right identification for the county and all of that stuff. If somebody dies in your house and you don't want to pay transportation costs, do you think it's okay to just put the body in your vehicle and drive them to the funeral home?
No.
Ask,
Put 'em on the roof.
ask Glenn about that.
Needless to say, it's a nice thought that you want to save money, but please don't pack up grandma and take her to the funeral home and drop her off to avoid the charge for the transportation. You know, people have misconceptions about what's the right thing to do. One of the misconceptions we deal with frequently is you have to utilize a funeral home. You don't have to utilize a funeral home. Many people, in their wishes, want to be just cremated, maybe have a memorial service, scatter my ashes over the family farm. I don't want a big to-do, just, think of me in the future. That's fine. If somebody asks us about that, that's one of the resources we have. We actually have 3 different places that we deal with, that if you just want to have cremation services done, we can set you up with them. And they go ahead, they get all the permits, they do all the required paperwork, they come and do the pickup, and they do the cremation services, and you talk to them over the phone exactly what you want to do and how you want to set that up. A lot of people, if that's what they want for their wishes, it's going to be considerably less expensive than going through a funeral home process. So that's something to think about. But a lot of people don't know that. They don't know that. They think they have to go through the funeral home. They say I want cremation, but they don't realize they don't have to go through the funeral home if they don't want to.
They just can't drive them to.
They just can't drive. They just can't drive them to the burn place. No.
Throw them in the back of a pickup truck.
Yeah. Drive them over. Can a girlfriend or a brother make the decisions about what's going to happen to the body? Well, we have a little thing in Michigan called, it's the Michigan law that deals with that, and the actual is called the Michigan Next of Kin. And basically what that says is there is a pecking order for next of kin who legally can make the decisions on what's going to be done with the body. And the girlfriend is not yet. Surviving spouses first, surviving adult children, starting with the oldest, then if there's surviving parents, and then surviving siblings. This always comes into play when you have blended families, or you've had multiple kids by multiple baby mamas, and who's going to make the decision what's best. And the law is really clear, and the morgues and the funeral homes will abide by that. So in other words, make your wills, or you need to get with your family and do that. It's unfortunate somebody may have not been married, but they've been together 35 years. They are not deemed as next of kin. You would hope that they were close enough with family so that their wishes could be, you know, honored too, but that's not a mandatory, yeah.
And if they've been divorced, there's no legal.
No legal if you've been
Right.
divorced. It has to be a surviving spouse, it has to be a spouse.
Can you designate, like, if I'm gonna die, and can I designate somebody to take care of me? That would overrule.
No, there's
Wills
special
of
papers.
trust.
It's, yeah, there's a, I thought we filled out forms that were designation of who's gonna take care of your funeral arrangements. Like, I need him as my primary, but then sisters, because we have no kids and all that.
And you can do that with the will,
Yeah,
but for the very first part of that, so that there's no argument in court, they will follow this.
Oh.
And that comes to another thing too, is when sometimes we'll run into family members and they say, but I have power of attorney and I have power of medical attorney for this person. That's only until they die.
That's right.
Once that person dies,
They don't need it.
that, the power of attorney is gone. So they may have had their child do the power of attorney, but they're still a surviving spouse. Once the person dies, it's that. But I would tell you that if you have a will, that is real clear about who is next for taking care of you. And then if both of you die at the same time, who is the next person you want to do that? So, and I would also suggest too, if you're doing that in your will, make sure that person knows that. That's always a surprise when it all comes down to it, and they're like, I gotta do what?
Do they have to file it anywhere, or just make sure you have it where it can be readily accessed?
Readily accessed, it used to be you could file them with the county courthouse if you wanted to, but not so much anymore. So I would suggest if you're doing that, you know, make sure that you have a copy. And it doesn't even hurt to give them a copy of it, seal it up and say, only if I go on, but let them know where that will is, especially if there's conflicts in the family.
When my dad died about 10 years ago, there was something in the law, I guess, that said that even though my mother was still alive and then he was gonna be cremated, but they had to have a majority of the kids also
Yeah.
sign off that he'd be cremated. We had 6 kids, you know, so there had to be, you know, 4 of us signing the paper. Luckily, there were only 2 of them out of town, the rest of them were local.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, family conflicts like that brings out the ugly in a lot of people. And that's before they even start dividing up property. And I don't mean to say that meanly, but we've been on the scene where somebody's died and the family members are already taking the stuff out of the house. You know, can we just wait till the person gets here and takes grandma out of the lazy boy before you take out the other furniture? Literally. So, everybody grieves the same way. I would tell you that that's a misconception. Everybody grieves differently. Everybody comes in and out of shock differently. Everybody has their own way of grieving. You know, this old thing, you know, don't make any decisions, drink more water, whatever. No, as long as you're kind of sticking to what your regular routine is. If you tell people all of a sudden to make sure you start eating healthy meals, they're like, I haven't had a healthy meal in 32 years, why would I start now? I would also tell you that depending on your age group, especially with kids grieve differently and they understand death differently. So telling a child, especially a younger child, about a death, they might go, okay, go out and play, and then a couple days later, they're like, is so-and-so coming over? No, they're gone, I told you, you know. Everybody grieves differently, everybody in and out of shock. I had a lady ask me today, how long will we be in grieving? And I said, you know, that's everybody's different, that's everybody is different.
You can do it for years.
Yeah,
Something can hit you.
yeah.
Sneak up behind you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would tell you that there's a difference between grieving and mourning. You mourn somebody, and grieving. And yeah, you're right, there's times that all of a sudden it will hit you. And it might even be a simple trigger, it might be a song, it might be a smell of food, it might be a scent that you recognize. So yeah, that's always changed. One of the ones we hear often is the family doesn't need any help to find resources. We don't need you guys in here. Because sometimes they'll ask, would you like a sheriff's advocate to come in? And they're like, I don't want anybody else in the house, I don't want anybody to know what's going on. No, we don't need them. I don't want to pay for it. First of all, we're volunteer, we don't pay anything. We don't charge for anything. We come there because we're volunteers and we believe in the process. But usually once the officers get us in the door and they see what we're about, they're usually very thankful for what we're providing. But they said, I have more people say we did not even know your program existed. We had no idea you did what you did. But they do the same thing with Lions Club. They do the same thing with Red Cross. They do not know that these community groups, who are the most caring people, a lot of times they just don't even know that these groups exist or what they can provide. So, say you weren't a family member, but you were part of the scene. Do you think this is going to affect you? We have people who think that the family members like, well, so-and-so saw him get killed, but they're not part of the family, so they're not going to need any help. We do have special information for those people who have witnessed a traumatic event. And sometimes these people that are part of witnessing events, sometimes are closer to that person than some of the family members. Very sad to say, but sometimes the ladies that do Meals on Wheels have more contact with some of these older folks than what their families do. They know more about their family and their kids and their dogs than the family member who shows up
And they sometimes find them and have to call the police.
Right. That's not unusual for us to have the Meals on Wheels people say nobody's answering the door. That's sad too, but like I said, anybody can be affected by witnessing this type of traumatic event. And so we will give them information and resources for them too. They do not have to be an immediate family member. So with saying that, I would tell you to make our job easier, and hopefully I'll never have to see you or your family on that type, to do a death notification, or to come in for a family member loss. So the best advice I can give you is talk to your significant other about your wishes if you happen to pass away, or make sure your family members understand what you want done. If you have a particular funeral home you want to use, or if you don't want a funeral home, or you want particular songs sung at your funeral, or anything, write it down and let somebody know. The other thing I would tell you, just from a practical side of that, is somewhere along the line, if you're going to have that person understand that, have them understand where your information is. A lot of times, kids don't understand their parents retired from a company 20 years ago, but they're still getting retirement benefits and things like that. They're like, I don't even know where to call to start doing that kind of stuff. Or all of a sudden they find that they've got, you're 3 months late on your WOW bill. I didn't know Mom had WOW. So if you have that type of information, or you have it even written down and just hide it somewhere and tell them, listen, when it comes time to start divvying up my assets and doing those kind of things and shutting things down for me, here's where the list is. Here's the contacts, here's the phone numbers, here's the account numbers. You don't ever have to do anything with it, but it will help them out immensely. You will help them out immensely. We have family members who just have no clue, and they're just in total shock. So we try to point them in the right direction. So I hope that kind kind of gives you a little bit of an overview about what we do. Did I go over my time limit? I'm talking kind of fast. And I would tell you that the group that I work with, all of them, great folks to work with. They bring in different skill sets. We usually go out in twos. Lynn, do you want to talk anything about how you feel we do, or what we do?
Yeah, no, working as an MEI, and I did when I was a cop before I retired, but now as an MEI especially. The victim advocates come into a scene, and I like to think they run interference for us. So the cops and myself, we get there, we can do what we need to be doing. Without the advocates there, you got family members, you got, every time a new, a cousin, the next door neighbor, whoever comes in, they all have all these questions. And the process works when a body is found. 911, generally 911 gets called, and then the police and the EMS is out. And then MEI gets notified, and then the victim advocates are notified. And they just take, when the advocates are there, but they kind of take over with the family. So the other areas can just really do what needs to be done. And gives that outline so families know what's coming. I always try and just personally, after I get there, talk with the family and just tell them, introduce myself and just roughly how long this process is gonna take. But that's generally always been done if the advocates are there first. One of the things that is really huge, and an incident just today we worked on, the advocate, the family, again, there was a lot of blood left at the scene we were at today. And they talk about, what do you do with that? I mean, how do I go back in the bedroom, where this, and so they've got the information, for hazmat cleanup and several numbers and take care of that. And so that just gets dealt with, and Deb took care of all that. I didn't have to deal with that at all. And another big thing, a huge thing, talking about kids and children. One of the things that the advocates talk about, when we do an investigation with a child, we do what's called a reenactment. And so we go back to the scene, so we talk with mom and dad, the babysitter, whoever, and we interview them, and then we go back out, and it's usually a team of three. It'll be the police for that jurisdiction, Child Protective Services, and myself for the MEI. So 3 disciplines are out there. We talk with the parents, whoever was there. We go back to the house, we go back to wherever this occurred at, and do a reenactment. And so we have a doll, roughly the same size as a child, and it can vary from an infant on up to 2, 3. And how was that child the last time you saw him alive? And put it there, if they were sleeping, co-sleeping in the bed or something like that. We'll have mom or dad lay down in the bed with this doll, and I stand there and take pictures of how they are, so the family see that. But the advocates, they talk about that, and so this has all been, so it's not a new and a shock, because initially, there's no way in hell.
And they think they're personally,
And
are you blaming me?
That's one of the things, and they take that off. Clearly, sometimes it has been the case, but
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, it's not the case. But by having those photos, pre-death and post-death, then when we take those photos, how they were by the pathologist, because generally these are gonna go up for post, an autopsy, and the doc can see, the position, the asphyxiation, however it was, if, the neck was neutral or however, so it's just, those few photos are just huge, huge. But sometimes making a grieving family parent, all of a sudden they're under the gun, they think, so they do a huge job.
So, and I would say too, that when the cops and some of the people are doing their job, they're doing police speak. They're talking about investigations, and these people are like, but that's my loved one. And they're trying to stay neutral, and they're trying to give a good get, and the questions they're asking, but I always tell them, some of these questions, nobody's blaming, nobody's doing that. They want the best information so we can get the best investigation done. And just having kind of a calming sense of helping them get in the right direction is what most of these people need.
Do you have any other questions?
Yeah.
How does it
changed through COVID, or has it not?
Well, I would say during COVID, we could not go out to houses, we could not go out to family houses. So what we did was, we would do a basic packet of information with like this information in it and some other stuff. And the command officers had those, so if they went somewhere, they could give them that. And it had our phone numbers of Patty Thayer and myself, and they could call us, and we could walk them through or get them additional information. But I would tell you, that is so hard to do over the phone, because you can't sit and just listen to people talk, or let them be silent when you're on the phone. You can't read what's going on. I've had new advocates say to me, if they go out with me, how do you know when to let them just be silent for a second and get their thoughts together? And I said, you just have to watch what's going on around you, be aware of what's going on. And some people who know me are going, boy, you're just really kind of a bigger than life person talking loud, and I'm really not that way out on the scene. I'm pretty calm. But, so is there any questions?
Any more? Well, thank you.
Okay, so that's what
We'd like to give you a small gift of our appreciation,
Oh, okay.
so you remember us. I can figure out how to get the box with Ms. Pennant.
Oh, cool.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.
What do we get?
A pen.
Any minute.
Very expensive.
Okay, we're gonna go on then. We have the secretary's report.
Secretary's report is on the back of your agenda.
Any comments, questions, changes?
Couple quick notes to go along with the report. Mason Community Services will be meeting tomorrow at noon at Mason Community Church. The churches and the service organizations get together once a month. That's what they do. Bring your own lunch if you want to come. Jenny's been one time, but I try to go to that. And then the city has their master plan activities going on right now this month. They have a focus group for service organizations and churches, apparently, May 18th at 3 p.m. on the second floor of City Hall. And if you'd like to come and let them know how we might be able to better interface with the city, that's what they're going to talk about. So that's the other part of the report.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the secretary's report? So moved. Second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Treasurer's report.
Maybe I'll combine that with a little bit of background from our meeting last night as well, for those who weren't there. We did have a meeting to go over the budget and our donations, and we approved some, and there were a few that we had indicated approval earlier in the year, and we backed off for a couple different reasons. But I've got 6 checks totaling $600 to write for our Lions-related donations. We also have the names of our 2 scholarship winners, and Lions Cindy is going to be giving those out a week from tonight. And I will be getting you the packets, the letter and the certificates. I've got them made up, I don't have them printed.
Okay.
So I'll get those to you in a day or two.
You want us to tell us?
Budget looks good. We look like we've got enough money, especially with another Texas Hold'em coming up in July, and I think another one in December. So as long as that goes, we're probably in good shape. Donations account right now has got $7,869.56. The administrative account has got $7,177.72. and the gaming account, is now, after I gave Stan a check for $200 for our next, license, gaming account's down to $1,843.12. We're looking to get an audit of the accounts, the treasury of the monetary accounts, to make sure that everything is clear after my first year. And I hopefully will do that every year, stay on top of that.
And did we find out who's on this auditing committee?
I know that Ken is, but I forgot to look. I'll have to look at it.
Dave,
Dave?
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 the
Okay,
dynamic duo.
okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's the two. Okay.
I don't know about this.
Do you want me to bring the statements next meeting?
Sure, it shouldn't take too long to
No,
run over everything.
no. I'll bring the statements in next meeting. We've got this, and if you guys want to look at the Quicken accounts, I've got the computer too, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll just better all be there.
All right,
Ken's gonna keep you in line.
should be good,
Yeah.
should be good. That's the point, that's the whole idea.
Right. And we appreciate what our accounting, our auditing committee will do, but we also appreciate what you've been doing, cleaning all the books up.
You got the 2 lessons.
Yeah.
Yep,
Anything else? Did you get
well,
one?
that's about it for the
I move we
treasury.
approve the treasurer's report.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. The Leo's Club report. When I went to the last Leo's meeting, it was the end of April. Amber McCray went on a medical leave that Friday, and so the Leo's Club is no longer meeting for the rest of the year. She has evidently had some issues all year long, and they just got worse and worse, and so she went on medical leave. She is interested in doing Leo's again next year, so she has talked to the principal, and last night we did talk a little bit about meeting with the principal, and I did text her, and she thought that was a fine idea. So Jenny offered to go, and we'll figure out a time, and we'll meet with the middle school principal or someone, and I don't know, she said she might Zoom, we'll see if that works out or not. But I am gonna suggest, if it's possible, that maybe there would be 2 teachers there, because they do pay these teachers to run the club. And so possibly it would work out if we had 2 teachers, because she's very busy, and, her daughter's gonna be a senior next year, so I can see this kind of continuing on. But she did do some great things. It was wonderful that Amber did take it on with not knowing, not knowing exactly what she was gonna be doing, and with everything else, we were fortunate that she did. So, any questions? Thoughts? Yes, Ken? Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we usually ask them, like, if they wanna attend our picnic as a thank you to them, even though the
We
teachers?
have, yes. We've asked them to be part of the strides. Next Saturday, we've asked them, we've done other things, it's not gonna happen.
Oh, okay, I didn't know because the teachers, they
Yeah.
still might come.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, then we're gonna go on to old business, the spring fling booth. Comments, thoughts?
It was decided, I think, kind of, last night too, that if we're gonna have people come in from Leader Dogs and Eversight and other places, we probably need 2 booths.
Yeah, they kinda took over.
Yeah, we're gonna need to have a double booth, I think. The Chamber of Commerce reduced the price from down home days to spring fling this past year, for our year, from $100 to $50. But if we get a double booth, hopefully it'll still be just $100. So that's just to let people know that that's probably what we're gonna have to pay for down home days, if we want a double booth.
I was wondering too, maybe we need to really find out what these folks are going to be doing when they spend time with, if they're in our booth. Like if it's Eversight or if it's Leader Dog, or are they staying for an hour, or are they planning on the whole day, so that we know if we need
Right.
a couple booths. Something to consider if you do contact people. Yes, Dave?
I think we needed kudos to our president, because she spent at least 45 minutes blowing up this big line, and then it had a hole in it.
Yes.
Everything but the head.
Yes.
Yep, I blew up the eyeball, it was a lot easier, but it also had a hole in it.
Yeah, that balloon, that line was as big as I was, so. And I didn't pass out, I
I
thought
didn't
that
know
was.
it, but you didn't stand up for a while either.
Yeah, I sat there for a couple minutes, you're right. Okay, then we're on to the Strides for Diabetes event. What's happening?
We got sign-ups all set.
Well,
Sign-ups are
there's
set
still
there.
one spot open on the sign-up sheet, if anybody hasn't signed up and you want to take a look at what it is. I also brought some more copies of what we passed out on Saturday, which is the door prize tickets. So if you want a few to pass out to people that you know, feel free. I brought a few of the sample door prizes too, they're over there, along with the sign-up sheet. And,
I'm gonna be setting up, I think initially probably a little before noon at the turnaround. And I'll have water there. I think we're gonna have all the door prizes there, and you're talking about, having the water bottles there, and quite possibly I have about 250 bookmarks for Strides there. I was able to get those. I was only able to get 2 sheets of the stickers though, because it looks like they're running out of everything on that Stride stuff. But we've got 3 sheets of stickers, one that came with the original package and the 2 that I was able to get.
we have stickers for the My Plate activity, which will be at the turnaround. But we can give those stickers out at the very beginning of the trailhead. People can wear them and then put them on the big plate that we'll have down there, just a folding table. But, just to kind of, but you get a little sticker, let's say it's broccoli or something, and you have to put it where the vegetables go. And if people don't wanna give up their sticker, cause some of the kids might not wanna give up their sticker, I have extra stickers.
And the health department I was gonna set up at the start. We're gonna need maybe 3 tents up there.
Do we have them?
Tables, and 1 at the turnaround.
Do we have enough tents?
Doug's got 2, you've got 1, I've got 1, so if yours can go, and Doug's can go to the start, I think we should be set.
Okay. Do we have water? Did you buy water bottles? I mean, you could.
No, I'm gonna have, I've got a big cooler that's gonna be at the turnaround, and I can have a 7-gallon blue jug at the start. And, the water bottles are at the turnaround. So we'll have those at both places.
So we're set.
I'm gonna walk the trail tomorrow. At this point, the weather forecast is still, scattered showers, thunder showers, so well, hopefully that they'll scatter elsewhere.
So go outside, guys, put your big fans on.
Yeah.
Blow it.
Okay. See what the best we can do. The only other thing, especially for people that are working at the start, to keep an eye out on what the parking looks like. That's the one area that's got me going, I don't know how this thing's gonna work. Now, if we get, 100 families show up, we're overwhelmed in parking, because there's 20 spots, I think maybe 22 spots, 2 of which are, handicap only spots.
Can we send them down to where the middle is, down in the
That's in the cemetery.
Oh.
Well, there's a small parking spot there. What we, when the trail only went up to Howell Road and didn't continue along Howell Road over to where the water tower is, people used to park on Howell Road.
Yeah.
So they'd have to park on the side of Howell Road, that's what happened before.
Pull off there.
Pull off on the side,
Yeah,
that's what they used to do.
so we'll see how it goes. It's an experiment this year.
That's right,
We
it's an
did
adventure.
somewhat limited, we did publicity, but somewhat limited publicity.
Yeah.
The library's gonna be setting up a story walk on the trail.
So we'll see what happens.
So
We consider it a pilot,
yeah.
see what happens.
But I think, Doug's gonna be getting pictures, and we should be able to get some good publicity out of this.
So if we have 3 walkers, we'll be seeing these 3 people in various places all.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
But if we get 30, well,
Yeah,
that's different.
if we get 300,
No, we'll be shocked.
yeah,
I don't know if we'll have 300.
right.
You never know. So
So-
anyway, sign up if you haven't. We'll see you around
Yep.
noon on
And even if you haven't
Saturday.
signed up, show up anyway.
Yes,
Saturday
please do.
afternoon, yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
Saturday.
Yep, grab one of these little things and get a door prize.
there you go.
Yeah. Anything else?
Any questions?
Yeah, Saturday, a couple of questions came up. Is there a rain date if it does?
Sunday,
There is no substitute,
Yeah.
official rain date?
yes. Sunday, the 15th is the official rain date.
We would have to post a sign at the entrance saying that we were going to have a rain date thing going on, but that's probably the only place it would ever be,
Yeah,
as far as information.
Right.
That and on our Facebook page.
yeah, and it's, you know, we can talk about, if we do cancel, we can talk about the possibility of, you know, maybe I could just park the car up there and sit there.
But if it looks like it's gonna be thunder showers both days, then that's just the way it goes.
Really only, you know, 3 hours that is open for registration,
Yeah, it's only
1 to 4.
1 to 4.
And if we've got families that are registering at 4, there's a good chance it'll be up to 5:30 by the time that they're back. Depends on how fast they're moving, and if it's a family, they may not be moving real fast, which is fine, but just that window that I would be perfectly happy just parking myself there, with a book. And say, if people show up and go,
Try it tomorrow.
cancel to thunderstorms, yeah.
Try it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Lynn did go down and tell the police. As a common courtesy, he just mentioned it to the police that we'd be doing it on Saturday.
Okay,
The city has all that
Yeah.
information.
Right, they do,
Passed
but
it along
it's
to the
more of a
police.
common courtesy.
yeah,
But they do have to pass that along to the police. The city
Yeah.
has to do that for an event.
so we've got our permit, and we've gave them all the information, that we didn't need to, closing streets and stuff like that.
City did it with an administrative, action instead of a city council action. So that's new.
Okay, anything? Questions? Comments? Be there or be square, right?
Yep,
Okay, we got the convention at Auburn Hills. Any comments? Updates? On any of these conventions?
I think we got 4 people going.
It'll all depend on Stan, whether we go or not.
Okay. So we're all set. Picnic at Hayes Park, we're still checking in to see about getting the pavilion. We don't know by the end of the meeting. We are gonna do the installation of officers at the picnic.
okay.
Karen and Jeff will not be there, so that will not be at our last meeting. So we'll do the installation of officers. It'd be nice too if we could, give out the scholarships to the children or the grandchildren of their members. So bring your grandchild and we'll give them the scholarship. And right now, we only have 2.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Doug's got one and Ken has. Is there anyone else? If you go home and realize, oh, I have a grandchild that's graduating, send the name to Rich.
Yeah.
You know, I had that grandchild.
So ideally,
Thank you, Noah.
I would like
Thank you, Noah.
written notification of who I'm writing the checks to, so I can get the spelling right, if nothing else.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Please and thank you.
DOE.
And we're gonna do any of our club recognition awards at the picnic too. Everything's gonna happen at the picnic. I'm still looking into getting the robotics group to speak at our last meeting, but if they're not, then we'll have a shorter meeting.
So, do you want me to hold on to the check for them?
Yeah, for the
until that-
robotics still. I got Steve's name,
That answers that question that I had.
and then I'll see if I can get the teacher. Okay. Officer training is, June 6th, 6 PM. Go ahead.
The president's stuff is on June 15th.
Okay. And that's in Ovid.
Yeah.
And the secretary and club administrator is in DeWitt.
Mhm.
And if you want some training, contact Bob Phillips for the treasurer. Okay, any other old business? Yes,
Oh, hold on, new here.
we're gonna move on to new. Okay. The budget meeting on May 10th, I did wonder as we were having the budget meeting, I thought thought we had it before in my living room, so I wondered about it, but we did have, it was a good idea to have it yesterday, I think that's what I would say, is that even though we had had the planning of the meeting, looks like somebody is looking for,
Way back.
Oh,
anyone know these people?
Oh, it's my daughter and son-in-law.
Yeah. I recognize the red hair.
It was really
They want you to
helpful.
buy ice cream.
Probably.
Bring some back.
It's really helpful, I think, to do it twice, actually, because we did the planning, who we thought we were gonna give it to, and then last night we went through again and looked at making some changes, because we hadn't heard from them, and also some programs had been discontinued because of COVID or for whatever, so it saved us some money. And Karen's talked about having a meeting sometime in August to do planning for her year as president.
I liked it last year when we had planning and knew who was gonna be speakers and we had to find some.
Yeah.
That was a really good idea. You did a great job.
Thank you. The scholarships, I think it's already been mentioned, it's gonna happen on May 18th. I will share with you that the names of these people who are receiving them are on the sheet of paper, and you should not tell this to anyone, because it's supposed to be a secret. So please don't share that information. We're giving out $2,000 scholarships, and the member high school graduate scholarships of $500 each. I wasn't sure what that was.
No, it's 250.
250.
That's for the
If
member.
it says,
Yeah.
if it
But
says
we're not giving
500,
them-
you have an old copy of the event.
And we're not, doing that on the 18th, we're gonna do that at picnic.
Okay.
Other business, new business.
One of the things we talked about, and I thought we were gonna bring it here, was possibly giving, X amount of money to like maybe wares for people who cannot afford diabetes, insulin, sticks or something. I wasn't sure if we were talking about bringing that to the club to ask them what they thought about it, or if we were doing that ourselves.
I think I had thought that would be something that came up in August, or what you wanted to do next year.
That's why I'm gonna do some feasibility looking into it first.
Yeah, see what the best way to do it.
Not to leave anybody in the dark, however, what it is that there was a request for some help with diabetes, materials, insulin types of things. And that's not something we normally do, but we were wondering what it would actually mean, so Karen's gonna talk to Wares and find out what kind of situations are there where people can't afford their insulin or diabetes medication.
And I'll search to see what other clubs are doing.
Yeah. And so we have donated to a national research foundation, and the thought kind of turned around, well, perhaps we would be better off supporting local needs instead of throwing, $200, $300 into this massive law. So,
And a lot of times with what we're discovering with these organizations is they're never contacting us. So we don't know what they're doing with the money, or if they really even need it, so that's why we kind of come back.
you don't ask, you don't need it.
But that's good you brought it up. We'll see what happens. Any other new business?
The flowers for the State Street Bridge are gonna be coming in on the 17th, don't know what time yet. And so, maybe even on the evening, the 17th or 18th or 19th, somewhere in there. When they actually get in, they'll be probably in the back of my truck, but, can get the word out.
Well, make sure you don't park in the bug man's parking lot.
I won't.
You bug the bug man.
Do you need a check? I don't know what the tab is yet. Okay.
So how are we gonna know when they're exactly?
What day?
They are gonna be
Next
there on the
Friday.
17th?
17th, we're supposed to be able to pick them up, and, depends on what time of the day, probably in the morning, but we can get an email out.
We can send an email out to people, does
Okay.
that work?
Yeah.
And let you
Yeah.
know and. set
We
up
get a
time.
crew of people down there, it doesn't take us
No.
half an hour, it's done and over, and, we get an email.
It worked out real well last year with my wife dropping me off and then coming back and picking me up. So you didn't have to.
And this year, we're putting them on the other side also.
Yeah.
Any other new business? Any announcements or reminders?
Yes, I have an announcement for next weekend when we're having our Strides for Diabetes event. The Mason Community Services Group is having a free market at Mason Community Church where you can go there and shop and don't pay anything. It's kind of like a rummage sale, but you don't pay anything. They even are gonna give people a free meal. So it's open to anyone. So just let you know. It's 9 to 3, so you can get there in the morning before you go over to the Strides thing. And that's pretty cool. The other thing I wanted to mention is that it was brought to my attention that we're gonna change our agenda and minutes from now on. It'll now say announcement, reminders, etc. Because apparently the Lottery Commission doesn't necessarily like us to talk about the 50-50 or the Joker draw. So we'll leave it also out of our minutes.
Okay.
We'll leave it out of our agenda.
Oh, we're living life on the edge.
We sure are.
The 50-50 is legal.
The background on that is, some years ago, we were audited by the Gaming Commission. One of the things that we had to do was provide our minutes. Stan was concerned that we had these references to gambling sort of activities, so he had me delete all references to 50-50 and Joker Draw before we turned these minutes over. That's where that comes from. But whether it's actually concerned or not, I don't know, maybe it's changed and Stan would have the information, but that's the background.
So it's not the gaming stuff that we're doing with the poker, it's the
It's the same,
50-50
it's the
is
same
what-
group though. It's Lottery Commission.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So we have to leave it all off.
Right, because if they look at our minutes and they see Joker Draw on there and they say, aha, gaming, are you getting a license for that?
You don't necessarily have to have a license for the 50-50 as long as you're not giving out any more than $100 at a
Right.
time. So we're legal on that one,
And I
but
used to put on there,
not for the Joker draw.
Jack of Clubs was one, and
Mhm. And I used to
all
too.
that
So you just want to put in the minutes anymore?
That's right.
That's
We can still do it, just not in minutes.
We just don't have to tell them about it.
That's simple.
Never
Well,
happened.
if they all lock us up at the Abe County Jail, we'll all be there together.
We'll be there with the Kiwanis and the Jesus and the Rotary.
And with that, let's have a 50-50.
Shake 'em up.
This is one I have. This one.
Either one. Either one. That'll come.
Last three digits are 801.
Are you kidding me? Right there.
801.
Oh, wait a minute,
There you
that
go.
sounds rigged to me.
I think it was.
How much did I win?
$13. Whoa, $13. Don't spend it all in one spot.
Ice cream's next door.
That's right.
Someday. Okay, and then on to
You got the hot hand, Deb.
our.
Let's see what you got here.
437.
32. Now you ain't gonna win anything anyway.
32, be careful, Deb.
I think it's up to
$2.
$11. All right, what do I have here? I've got 432.
That's me.
Somebody just said 4-3.
All
Are you
right.
serious?
See? Rigged?
Dave and Ken.
Yep.
Let me see it. I don't trust you, you're
I
a
don't
banker.
trust you either.
No.
No, that doesn't look, no, that's not the same.
It's not the same. One says coupon, the other says ticket. All right, so I've shuffled them a couple times.
Oh, well, that's good enough.
That's good enough.
Good luck, Ken. I
And
hope you win.
I hope I don't win.
Oh!
Hey, you got the Joker. No, that's King.
King clubs.
That's Joker crying out there.
I was in earlier tonight, I looked. That's, I don't know.
Long ways away.
He's got a draw till he gets it then.
Oh, there it
There it
is.
is.
It's way down near the bottom.
That's good.
There's the Joker.
Before we adjourn,
And we'll be adjourned.
before we adjourn, I want to back up a minute on this on the picnic. We're for those of you who may not be aware, we're gonna have it in one of the city parks. We're looking at Hayes Park, and there are some activities we can do. But I just want some clarity, and this is more for me. Do we think we're gonna grill? And if we do that, who does it? Are we just gonna do?
We lost.
We lost our grilling.
We're a griller, yeah.
So are we thinking we'll just do, potluck, or we have no idea?
Yeah, but we use Jerry's.
Potluck.
And typically we've done potluck with
hot dogs.
Hot dogs and hamburgers, but,
If we don't have a grill,
yeah.
I mean, they have the charcoal ones down there.
why don't we get some pulled pork?
Steak tartare.
Can do that.
I don't like pulled pork.
That's easy.
Oh, never mind, Ken doesn't like pulled pork. More for
Well, you guys think about this so that at our next meeting, we can come to a decision of what we're gonna do. And now, with that,
Chicken.
Doug has suggested we adjourn, second.
Roasted chicken.
All those in favor? Aye.
What?
And we are
You have money for me?
adjourned.
50/50 money?
Didn't wanna hurt
Call
them.
yourself a bit, it's like legs and breasts and stuff like that.
We must have no charcoal grill around, hot dogs are easy enough.
But it's,
Wayne,
$13.
is that mine?
Yep,
You want any of this? Oh, you got
You
it.
put it in the,
thanks.
like a 5-foil pan or whatever.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Well, and I'm not gonna be sure next year.
I'm not gonna be at the picnic.
Oh,
It's my grandson's birthday, so.
You got a lousy job.
But the thing is we either have a speaker come and give us
But I'm
some
sure he's
training,
having a
or we
birthday
go
party.
on sheriff's and go get training that way. We also have an annual
You
conference
know,
here
it's
where
just
we-
family meetings they're gonna have.
But when they have the first training with the
I
sheriff's
suppose
department.
I suppose we start
some
with
of
that.
But like,
It's
we
still
don't,
being
I
underpaid.
mean, we don't get any gas money if we drive to Stockbridge or Williamson or anything like that, but, you know, it's not about that. It's
I know, I'm going to.
Yeah.
It used to be a gun, but now it's a rifle. Oh, good.